who has the best team.
All right.
Ooh.
And thus concludes this week's Fantasy Files with Agent Dillon Busby. It was a great time, Dillon. We had a lot of fun.
Good night, Thurston.
I had a blast.
Good night, Fantasy World. I love you all. Please take time to vote in our poll at First and Goal Podcast at Dillon Busby 1. Thank you guys very much. Another fun week with y'all.
Yes,
Of course.
And that being said, we have to take a break, finally, because we have our very special guest on who's been waiting patiently for us as we rambled on having too much fun.
I know, we wouldn't shut up.
And we just wouldn't shut up. So he's been very patient, so we don't want to make him wait any longer. It's Mr. Fred Thurston, the grandson of the Hall of Fame and legend Fuzzy Thurston. We will be right back, folks.
I've been grinding so long, been trying this shit for years. And I got nothing to show, just climbing this rope right here. And if there's a man upstairs, he kept bringing me rain. But I've been sending up prayers and something's changed. I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bassline move, yeah, say yeah. It's good to be alive right about now. I was dead in the water, nobody wanted me. I was old news, I went cold as cold could be. But I kept throwing on cold, trying to make that fire burn. Sometimes you gotta get scars to get what you deserve. I kept moving on, and now I'm moving up. Damn, I'm feeling blessed with all this love. I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Good, 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 good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bassline move, yeah, say yeah. It's good to be alive right about now.
All right, it's good to be alive right about now, and we are joined with our very special guest, Mr. Fred Thurston, the grandson of the legend Fuzzy Thurston. Welcome to the show. Say hello.
That's a heck of an intro, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Packers royalty, baby.
We're honored. You are part of Packers royalty. I mean, the man, your grandfather was an intricate part, along with Mr. Jerry Kramer, of the Packers sweep. And there's no more legendary play in football history, in my opinion, than the Lombardi Packers sweep run with Mr. Fuzzy Thurston and Jerry Kramer. I mean, come on. That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're on with us. Thank you.
Anytime. I won't disagree with a single word you just said there, that's for sure. Integral part, not only of this offense, but of football. I mean, you look back at some of the greatest individual plays, the sweep is no doubt in my book number one.
I mean, Fuzzy was the anchor of that team, and he doesn't get credit for it. He really was.
You know, that's a tough one. You know, when you look at that team as a whole, so many incredible pieces of it. I think what Lombardi was so special at was bringing in so many different personalities, so many different parts, and finding their inner strengths and finding some incredible talent that they didn't even know they had, and being able to put it together and build the ultimate dynasty in that 60s team. It's phenomenal. I'm honored.
Okay.
Oh, we're honored for you coming on.
Yes, we are. But before we go any further, Fred, what we have a tradition here with all of our first-time guests, and so you are honored to
Get the party music.
We want to give you what we call brag time. And that is just a few minutes to tell everybody, a little bit about yourself, where you came from, what you're doing, give your tags, if you got any social media outlets or anything you want to get out there. It's your time to brag about yourself, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a hug. It's all on you now. Go ahead and go, bud.
All right, thanks. Fred Thurston, you can find me on Twitter at FThurstonXXII. Or the Sweep podcast. I have my own Sweep Studios, which is a media department. We do videos. We do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I also do my podcast, The Sweep, which I've done for a few years now. Outside of that, man, just a diehard Packer fan. Have been since birth. Didn't have a choice. Didn't want a choice. Knew what I wanted. Love it. Proud grandson of Fuzzy Thurston, as you said. Proud father of two. And I'm here to keep the legacy alive and to never, ever, ever let it fail.
It will always stay alive.
That sudden's chill.
Especially in this culture of Packers life.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I got to come out and ask it. What are you thinking so far of this year's Packers? Like, what are you thinking? Is there anything that's kind of standing out to you so far in the 5 days it's been going on, and who's been sitting with injury, who's been starting in certain places? What's catching your eye?
You know what? It's interesting. I think I've kind of said it a few times on some social media sites, and I think we're at kind of a weird crossroads in Packer football where we obviously have Aaron Rodgers, clearly the greatest quarterback, I think, to have played in a long time when you're talking strictly talent. But I think for the first time, guys, and maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like this defense, second year under Pettin, a lot of new moving parts, got rid of some of the old staler parts. I think that this could be the year where that defense surpasses that offense. And it's not a knock against Aaron. It's not a knock against the offense. I still think you have a top 3 quarterback, a top 3 receiver, a top 3 left tackle, and potentially a top 3 running back if playing right. So the offense has the weapons, no doubt about it. But I like Pettin in his second year. I like the additions that they brought in. I love the safety duo. I think if you can get a healthy season out of Kevin King, along with the Smith brothers coming in, Rashawn Gary obviously is the talk of the town right now, killing it in training camp. I mean, the defense looks fun. And when's the last time we were able to sit back and think this defense is going to maybe win us some games?
2010.
So it's kind of a weird, yeah, right? No, I mean, we're talking a decade here almost. And I think that's something that has been kind of fun. We've relied so much on the brilliance and the ingenuity of Rodgers and what he can do. And it'll be nice to maybe not put so much on him. Obviously, for us as fans watching, coaching staff would love that. Aaron would love that. But I just, there's something about this defense that gives me that good home feeling. And I'm nervous on the other side of the ball, and just how this marriage is going to work with LaFleur and Rodgers. I want to believe it's going to be great. I want to believe it's going to be blissful and champagne and late nights and all those good things. But we don't know. And we have to just assume what we do know, and it's a little scary to think how it might work. But going back to what I said again, top 3 left tackle, top 3 wide receiver, top 3 quarterback, and a top 5 running back in my book. That's still a plethora of talent and enough to make it so you don't have to worry. But I think there's going to be that issue of, come first game of the year, Chicago, is LaFleur going to call a good enough game plan to give Aaron that good feeling, that trust in, okay, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. I can run his game plan. Let's do it. Or is it going to be an issue where we get into the fourth quarter, say we're down a touchdown, we're tied. What does Aaron do? Does Aaron put his trust into LaFleur and run the system to the end? Or does Aaron go rogue and do what he knows what he knows best? And is that okay? I mean, should we just be okay with that because
Can I
it's
play
Aaron
devil's
Rodgers and
advocate,
he
Fred?
is incredible? Absolutely, please.
What if it's both, but not in a negative way? What if it becomes a situation in games where, because these guys are close in age and they seem to be getting along well, and this is exactly what we heard from our president that this so-called players, like whatever they had, these group of players, after they played LA, they said they wanted this offense. So what if LaFleur is comfortable enough where he says he's comfortable enough in his saying, I'm a young head coach. It's gotten to a certain point in the game, it's crunch time, and things aren't working exactly the way. Instead of me being stubborn, maybe it's okay for me to let Aaron go ahead and do your thing. And
Yeah.
it's going to be a negative thing if that happens, but we're not going to know, because he's not going to say that, because then he's going to undermine himself and his own intelligence. But why is it a bad thing for a young head coach that has a quarterback like that, if he's in a pinch or isn't feeling like things are working the way he wants it? He can lean on Aaron, just like Aaron can lean on his system where he hasn't been able to before, and a defense, like you said. His coach now at a young age can also go back and lean on Aaron, who, let's be real, nobody does off-script plays, schoolyard ball better than Aaron Rodgers. And LaFleur now has that weapon in his repertoire. That, to me, that's a kind of a take that nobody's saying. That can be just as dangerous. You can't game plan for that, and that can be released at any point when LaFleur just says, Aaron, go do your thing. He can do it in the middle of a game for a drive. You know what, Aaron? Let's see what they do when you do this and see, where we can go on the playbook, how they react to that. That can be another dynamic to this offense that really screws with defenses on tape, because it separates trends when you're trying to do it. It's not a bad thing necessarily.
Well, you know what? No, you know what? And I think you're right. And I'll say this: what is the most key component to a good marriage? Compromise. Compromise by both. And I think you're absolutely right. I think both have to take a little bit of each other and say, hey, you're going to come, from Aaron's point of view, hey, you're coming in, give me some of that fun, exciting motion offense. Let's run that. And when things do get rough, LaFleur can look at him and say, oh my, I got a Ferrari here in the garage. Let's run this baby. Let's do it. Go do your thing. And so if they can find, I'm not saying that I think that the issue is if they're stubborn, but I don't see that happening. I do believe that if they can find that compromise and realize that by feeding off of each other, they can do so much more, then, yeah, I think there's a very good chance that we don't lose a step necessarily offensively. I know that we have lost a few steps in the last couple of years, but injuries and all that aside, I mean, there's no reason with LaFleur's knowledge and the talent we have that this offense should falter.
Now, where LaFleur comes from, I have to point this out, with Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, coming from also Mike Shanahan, all the way back to the offensive days in Denver. I've looked this up, and Mike Shanahan did it. Kyle did it. Zach Taylor does it when he goes to the Bengals. He's doing this for Dalton. I've been reading that the head coaches that work with the quarterbacks give, in crunch time, give the quarterback 2 or 3 plays and say, hey, pick it and run it. And just literally run it repetitively over like the last 2 final drives, because it's the stuff that's been working. But also, I think they're going to add in that hybrid where Rodgers take the keys and drive this thing. But they're going to do it to where, hey, give him like 4 or 5 plays, because the IQ of our QB is much higher, and he can audible to more plays rather than just 2 or 3. So I think they're going to add in both of those, like you guys just said.
Yeah, I'm good with that. You know what? 4 or 5 plays is probably not even enough for Rodgers. The guy is a Rolodex.
I'll just throw out an example number.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, but that's the thing. Like, I think you guys are both right. I think that you kind of have to have that compromise and have those options ready and ready to go. So when time comes, you do what you do best.
And I will put in this too. I have not heard this example. I've heard people, just like you, be higher on the defense. Dave and I are too, because what Pettin did with little to nothing last year and where he finished with nothing, just shows to me like he's got a better overall talent pool right now